Maya used it to play a brutal but popular ball game called pok-ta-pok. From all accounts, players were dying to play the game, and I mean that literally. There's evidence that the captain of the losing team was usually decapitated. Some have suggested that the losing team captain's headless body was laid to rest in one of these sacred cenotes, pools of water where gods were thought to dwell. In the 1920s, archaeologist Edward Thompson dredged out this cenote in Chichen Itza, and sure enough, he found human bones.
And that's why every culture in known human history wants to sacrifice children.
These entities feed not from the solid level of food that we perceive it. They feed directly from energy. They get their sustenance from energy.
The Aztecs said, we're going to chop people's hearts out. It was normal because everybody went along with it. And if you showed up and you said, hey, don't chop their hearts out, the moon is a big rock that orbits our planet. You don't have to chop hearts out every time the moon comes up or the sun comes up. It's a gas ball. The God needs the blood of children and women and men. They hung the folks up like lunch meat. They knew that thousands of years ago. They didn't just discover that. It's time to kill people. This is normal. This is normal. This is normal. I'm not a hero. This is normal. This gets to me. This freaks me out.
Obvious conclusion that this world is controlled by very, very few people behind the people we think are in power, and they have a very, very malevolent agenda for humanity as a whole, who to them are nothing more than cattle.
We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. And the chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
The Temple of Kukulkan. Kukulkan being one of the Maya's main gods. You can see him depicted here as a feather serpent. But this wasn't just a religious site. Thousands of years ago, this was the McMath Pierce of its day, an ancient observatory designed to keep track of the sun. At the very least, I'm hoping that my little experiment does away with the kooky theory that somehow the Maya needed the help of aliens from outer space in order to build these magnificent structures.
Throughout the world, there exists many hand-built monuments that are constructed in such a way as to highlight the equinoxes as well as the solstices. Civilizations in the BC era observed the path and positions of the sun as well as the revolutions of the moon to determine their calendar. We know this is the way ancient Hebrews told time based upon Genesis 1:14 through 18. Philo, a 1st century AD Israelite, recorded how his fellow kinsmen believed that the equinoxes were of importance to their calendar. These times in the sun's path were marking points for the two major festivals that Yahweh gave to his people Israel.
He does not get into the meat-eating aspect of it on the other side, although he does talk about them consuming flesh and blood during their satanic rituals. But that's more of a ritualistic thing. The people on the other side of their daily fare, they have restaurants on the other side that serve human meat.
And that reptilians have engineered the near-death experiences to dupe humans, and that when spirit people die, they're actually propelled and dumped into the astral. Now let's talk about the reptilian history with Earth humans. You say the reptilian race from Orion has been here for thousands of years and maybe longer, at first presenting themselves as the gods and then using their technology and genetic know-how to manipulate the human race for their own ends. That, it seems, involves using the human being as a food source, an energy source, a plaything, a slave, and a marketable item. Now you say reptilians want to keep us endlessly shut down, fighting amongst ourselves. How does that help them?
Well, we never turn around to see who's creating the mess. And we just keep fighting each other.
Now, regarding the reptilians, you've said, we've been handed belief systems, political and religious, which have been used to great advantage by this group to promote dissension, hatred, bigotry, and cause war. War has created benefits for this group on every level, but primarily it is a feast, as the fallen soldier, young, healthy, and filled with adrenaline and fear, is the favorite food source of this group. Once on the other side, the soldier is again faced with his death, and this time at the hands of leering reptiles mocking his sacrifice for a patriotic cause. Now, when humans kill each other, you say the reptilians feast.
They wait. They told me you make war, we plan the wars, you fight, and we dine.
So you say reptilians love making the victims terrified. Why?
Because they ingest that energy. It's louche.
They absorb the fear, energy of fear?
Most of the humans are of no threat to them. The humans, for the most part, they see as retarded, and they just see them as food. They're just like a hamburger. That's what they call them.
Just cattle on the hook.
Cattle. Sheep, cattle.
So in today's video, I'm going to be exposing May Day, and May Day is also known as the Beltane Fire Festival Day, and this is a day that you can trace all the way back through history in which these Satanists openly practice their human ritual sacrifice and child sacrifice, and this stems all the way back to the worship of Baal, which is also known as Kronos, which is also known as Saturn, a planet. So don't let any of these people dressed up in robes gaslight you when they say they're just worshiping nature, when they're worshiping nature by sacrificing animals and children to a planet in the sky. So if you look here and you look at their little pagan holiday list, you'll see about midway down through the screen, celebrating the spring equinox, is May 1st, which is, Beltane Festival, also called Walpurgis Night. This is the highest day on the Druidic witches' calendar. May 1st is the Illuminati's second most sacred holiday. Human sacrifice is required. And you can see leading up to May 1st, from April 19th to May 1st, is blood sacrifice to the beast. Fire sacrifice is required on April 19th. And the Beltane Fire Festival is obviously another one of these fire rituals. And this isn't something out of a scene of the Game of Thrones, which is another highly popular show that is desensitizing the masses to these satanic rituals, making it normal. They even call their fire god the Lord of Light. It couldn't be more obvious.
All of us. But if we make this sacrifice...
Accept this token of our faith, my lord, and lead us from the darkness. Lord of Light, show us the way!
So while they're performing human sacrifices and child sacrifices in hidden locations out of the sight of the public, they have the public taking part in their satanic rituals unknowingly, which we'll get to in a little bit, and knowingly, and they just gaslight everyone saying that these aren't satanic rituals involving human sacrifice when they are. Which is where these morons come in and are so useful to the powers that shouldn't be. These people running around naked in the woods doing stupid fire festivals that have absolutely no meaning to them other than just running around naked and being morons, because that's what they do when they're not doing whatever the hell else these people do, likely drugs. And this allows the elite to go, oh, Beltane Fire Festival was that, druidic thing from ancient times where, we had bonfires and people ran around crazy, and that was pretty much it. And the only people that celebrate it today are these types of people you see here on the screen, while at, hidden locations on mansions, deep inside the woods, wherever the hell these powers that shouldn't be actually live and have their, I'm sure, enormous mansions paid for by all of us, they're actually doing real human sacrifice. And then they can just point at these people and say, oh, those are the only people celebrating. You see how that works? It's like the way the Freemasons work at the highest levels of Freemasonry. They're doing extraordinarily satanic, disgusting things, where at the very lowest levels, it's just a charitable social organization. You gotta have the people like this that just think it's all about worshiping nature and nonsense and has nothing to do with real Satanism, to make it look like that's what it's all about, when in fact, in private, the powers that shouldn't be are doing actual sick human sacrifice. So even though they did an extraordinarily good job of cleansing anything relevant about Beltane, May 1st, or anything like that from your average Wikipedia post on this, they still have to admit in here that, this is all tied back into these satanic rituals and stuff like Samhain, which is October 31st, which people call Halloween. And, this is the other big festival for Satanists. And even, I think Wikipedia has to admit that, even though they tried their best to clear, Beltane of any wrongdoing. And when you read through the modern era, of course, it tries to make it out to be some sort of, big bonfire that people just go and celebrate and dance, like it's some sort of barbecue for people that are sympathetic to Satanists. It's absolutely disgusting, and people should be exposing this stuff. Anyone practicing this, anyone taking part in the Beltane Fire Festivals should have a close eye kept on them at all times, since this is tied directly into human sacrifice and animal sacrifice. And anyone that's willing to sacrifice a human or an animal for some stupid pagan, satanic, ritualistic crap has no place in our society. None. And I hate to be mean, but this was going on at the exact same time that we were all celebrating the death of Osama bin Laden. These weird satanic rituals called Beltane, where they want you to think this is all just about worship of nature and all this other stuff. This is all about human sacrifice. What they saw in the night sky back in ancient times when they built stuff like this, they were representing it on the ground and then worshiping it. And we now know that Stonehenge was used for human sacrifice and animal sacrifice, because they found all types of bodies and remains of ritualistically sacrificed people, and the entire site is basically set up as a auditorium for doing these satanic rituals and sacrificing people with an audience. So that's what Stonehenge was built for, was ritualistic sacrifice. And it's just continuing on to this day, just not out in the plain sight. The same powers that shouldn't be that were in charge of this stuff back then are still doing this stuff likely somewhere else, hidden from sight. This is a picture of human sacrifice, child sacrifice taking place back in Baalbek, which is now Lebanon, to Baal, which was exactly what they still do on the Beltane Fire Festival day. This is exactly a depiction of what is still taking place in the modern day era, which is totally insane. This type of practice is what caused the Russians to go in and destroy the Khazarian Empire in the first place, because these sick Khazars were doing this stuff way back in the day, and they were forced to take up one of the three Abrahamic religions and they pretended to take up one of them. What they've done is just continue to do this crap into the modern day, and it is time for this to come to an end. These sacrifices to Baal, which is also known as Kronos, which is also known as Moloch. Remember the Moloch emails? Right in the Podesta emails from WikiLeaks. With fingers crossed, the old rabbit's foot out of the box in the attic, I will be sacrificing a chicken in the backyard to Moloch. Tree to Hillary Clinton. Okay? So this stuff is still going on, even though this was probably a joke. The reason she's joking about it is because she probably knows that these people actually still do this crap. And I'll just remind these sick Satanists that what is done underground will be brought into the light. Jesus Christ will expose everything that you sick fucks are doing. You won't get away with any of it. You should repent and stop doing it now while you still have a chance to save your soul. Don't sacrifice people to this machine. This Moloch machine that you need to sacrifice to just to keep your status in this world. It's not worth an eternity in hell. Save yourselves.
Today's show, I want to talk about something that's important, because knowing your enemy, knowing what these people are up to, and knowing when and what days you're likely to be under the most spiritual warfare is important in this war that's going on, this spiritual war that is occurring. So I want to talk about the Witches' Sabbath, which occurs April 30th. It is the Beltane. It could occur April 30th into May 1st or on May 1st, also known as May Day. A lot of people don't know these witches and these Satanists operate on somewhat of a Wiccan calendar. I know people out there think, oh, if you're Wiccan, you're not a believer in this stuff. It's all the same. They all cross into one another. Okay, witches, Satanists, all of these lost souls who worship and summon these demons. At the end of the day, they all worship Satan, whether they want to admit it or not. So let's talk about the Witches' Sabbath. A lot of people know that Halloween or Samhain, October 31st, is really a day for these witches. It is one of their, the biggest day of the year for them, for the Satanists and the witches. But what people don't know is that May 1st is just as equally as important. It's the second biggest holiday for witches. It is a time where the veil between the spiritual realm and the physical realm is very, very thin on May 1st. Okay, so they summon these demons. They perform these rituals. They have sex orgies. Human sacrifice is committed, even though they'll never admit to it. Don't fall for it. They do commit human sacrifice and animal sacrifice during this period of time. And what they do is they summon mischievous spirits. There's a lot of witches that warn to be careful during May Day about what they wish for. That's where apparently the saying, be careful what you wish for, really comes from, in a sense, is because they make wishes then to these demons. And a lot of the times they're literally granted for them. It's also the festival of Baal, or Bel. So if it's a festival for Baal, then we know that child sacrifice is committed, because that's what was going on. In the Bible, we know they were sacrificing their children to Baal. So if it's a festival for Baal, oh, right, but they're not doing any type of sacrifice. They're just having a good time and lighting fire pits and doing all this bizarre stuff, running around naked in the woods covered in red body paint, worshiping Satan. And we're supposed to turn our heads and not care or do anything about it. This is where the problem starts and stops, is that we need to stop being lukewarm in our faith, and we need to start attacking these people. 150 years ago, these people would be hung on trees, okay? Now they're running freely, performing all these rituals, and it's important to expose them so people could see what's going on and put a stop to this stuff. So while they're performing these rituals, they're invoking spirits, they're doing invocations. It's a great time for magic for them. Like I said, the veil is very, very thin. The veil between the two worlds. We know that there's the veil covering it. We learn that in the Bible. The veil that they want to lift They want to fully lift the veil and bring over what's on the other side. But during these specific holidays, the veil is very thin, and that's how they're able to summon in demons and spirits and invoke all of these spirits and bring them over to this side. So it's really important during this time period that you're very strong in your prayer, you fast, or you get strong in your prayer, because you're very likely to be under spiritual attack. Okay, these witches, they won't admit it, but they summon demons. They send demons at Christians. They pray all the time for the demons and these things that go after the Christians, because they know that if Christians wake up and see what they're doing, they're afraid that they're going to get hung on trees or they're going to get exposed. They hate Christians. They hate followers of Jesus Christ. We know that they hate Jesus Christ. They hate our Father in heaven. They've obviously proven that. And you are likely to be under spiritual attack during this period. So stay strong in your prayers. Stay strong in your faith. We can always fight back against them. Don't be scared. Okay, just because they, like a bunch of losers, they put on some black capes and some witch hats, and they might look scary because you've seen horror movies. They're pathetic, and they're weak, and we can steamroll through them. So don't be afraid of these cloaks that they're wearing, looking like a bunch of losers. Okay, we'll rip the cloaks off their backs and give them a clothesline to hell through the power of the Holy Spirit. Okay, we have the Holy Spirit with us, so we can fight back against these people, these demonic brothers and sisters of ours who have gone astray, who betrayed our Father, and now continue to work for Satan and mislead the masses and lie to them and deceive them into thinking that this stuff doesn't occur, that it's only in movies, when it is in fact real and it's occurring in a town that you're living in or a town next to you.
This is Dabu7. I'm going to share with you guys here some UFO orbs, the exact same kind that we've witnessed before on the battlefield, the exact same situation, and the exact same kind we witnessed on top of the World Trade Center that I have on the J-Night channel. Now, I'm going to run this a couple times so you can spot these. Maybe you'll see it. See it? See it? See, oh, he stopped. Did you see that? You guys see that? Watch another one come in from the right over here. It is literally sitting in the sky, hovering there. Watch. I'll take it back so you guys can see this stuff. See him? You see this? That's the truth. You see this bad boy? That is a UFO orb surveying. And look, it zipped out of the blast. Like, this thing is so quick, it can go down there and watch it right there. Now, I want you to watch something over here to the right of the screen. Boom. Look who just popped up. Oh, check this out. Boys, UFOs right here in front of your face. You better open your eyes. The technology's out here. They're using it all over the battlefield, and it's a fact. I'll leave links, and I'll leave you guys here with this zoomed in clip. Look at that.